This guide will walk you through the process of creating and designing content for a program on Kuxaan. Once you create a program, it will be displayed on the program homepage. Click on the program to get started. Once you are in the program, click on the Content Management section located in the left sidebar. All program content will be created using Content Management. This content will then be linked and made available to program participants through Menu Management, which will be covered in the next tutorial. Begin by clicking New to create content. Depending on the type of content being created, the content creator may or may not need to select the dependency of an activity to proceed to the following content and materials. Having content as a dependency of another content is optional and at the discretion of the content creator. For the purposes of this tutorial only, when selecting the consent option, this type of content does not need to have a dependency. Instead, it can serve as the dependency for other materials being developed. Additionally, the consent option will present participants with two choices after reviewing the content: consent and decline. Only participants who click consent will be allowed to proceed with the program. When choosing material as the content type to create, it may depend on consent as a dependency, but it is not mandatory. Please note that when creating content for material, program participants can only complete their work by clicking Finish once the time limit set by Kuxaan has passed. The timer is based on a rate of 6 words per second. The final content type to create is the form. Similar to the material content type, content creators have the option to select a dependency if needed. However, unlike material, this content type allows program participants to save and submit their work at their own pace without having to wait for a specific duration to pass. We will begin by creating the first content type, consent. Select consent as the type of content we will be creating from the drop-down menu. For this tutorial only, the consent will serve as a dependency for other content that we will create. Click on the calendar icon to select a start this. The start date will indicate when the consent will be made available to the program participants. For this tutorial, we will select December 15, 2024 as the start date. However, content creators can choose any start date for their program. Select the title field and input the title of the content being created. Providing a description is optional and is only visible to the content creator. Program participants will not be able to see the description. Clicking on Active will allow the created content to be used and linked in Menu Management, making it accessible to program participants. If Active is not checked, content creators will be unable to link or provide that content to the program participants. Click Save to save your created content type. Confirm by clicking OK. We will continue by creating the second content type, materials. Begin by clicking New for a new content entry. Since we created the consent content type, it can now serve as a prerequisite or dependency for new content creation. Content creators have the option to choose whether the new material requires the completion of this prerequisite before users can access it. For this tutorial purposes only, we will select the consent form as the dependency that participants must complete before gaining access to the materials. However, this selection is optional and ultimately left to the discretion of the content creator. Select material as the content being created. Click on the calendar icon to select a start this. The start date will indicate when the material will be made available to the program participants. Select the title field and input the title of the content being created. Providing a description is optional and is only visible to the content creator. Program participants will not be able to see the description. Clicking on Active will allow the created content to be used and linked in Menu Management, making it accessible to program participants. If Active is not checked, content creators will be unable to link or provide that content to the program participants. Click Save to save your created content type. Confirm by clicking OK. We will create the final content type, form, before designing the information for each content type. Begin by clicking New for a new content entry. Please choose a dependency for the form content we will create if needed. Keep in mind that having a dependency is optional. It is not required unless the content creator decides to include it. Since we have already demonstrated how to select a dependency for created content, we will not select one for this created content in this tutorial. Select the Form option as the content we will be creating. Click on the calendar icon to select a start this. The start date will indicate when the form will be made available to the program participants. Select the title field and input the title of the content being created. Providing a description is optional and is only visible to the content creator. Program participants will not be able to see the description. Clicking on Active will enable the created content to be used and linked in menu management, making it accessible to program participants. If Active is not checked, content creators will be unable to link or provide the content to the program participants. Click Save to save your created content type. Confirm by clicking OK. If there needs to be modifications made to the created content types, click the Open icon to access the Content Information menu. This will open the Content menu page, where you can click on the Edit option. Clicking on the Edit tool allows content creators to make necessary changes to any content sections. If you have made any changes, click on Save to ensure those changes to the created content are saved. Click OK to confirm any changes and close the window. Additionally, if you need to delete created content, click the trash icon. This action will permanently remove the content from the Content Management menu. Confirm you want to delete the selected content by clicking OK. Now that we've gone through the process of creating different content types, as well as editing and deleting content, the following steps will focus on designing the information that will be presented within the content to program participants. Click on the Designer tool for any content created. In this tutorial, we will begin by designing the material content, which can be adapted for other content types created using its Designer tool. Select the heading option by dragging it to the center of the screen. Once you drag the heading to the center of the screen, the Properties tab will appear on the right-hand side, as it will for the other components, which will allow you to add a heading and adjust the size of the font. H1 will be the largest font size and H6 will be the smallest font size. In addition, you will be able to align the heading to the left side, center, or right side, as well as adjust the margins, which will be discussed in another tutorial. Drag paragraph to the center of the screen. The paragraph component can serve as the subtitle for the presented materials and provide participants with a brief context of the content. Drag editor to the center of the screen. The editor tool allows content creators to bold, italicize, strike through, and underline text while also adding hyperlinks. It allows content creators to create bullet points or numerical points for content and increase or decrease the content's indent. Overall, the editor tool is used to stylize the text being presented in the material content. Drag image to the center of the screen. To add an image, you would first have to have the image saved on your device. Once it has been saved, click on the camera icon to select an image. The default size and fit of the photo can be adjusted as needed. Drag embed video to the center of the screen. Only videos from YouTube and Vimeo can be embedded into the created program on Kuxaan. Once you have the desired video from either of the video streaming platforms, copy the URL link of it, and paste it into the Sources section in Properties. Drag file to the center of the screen. If the content requires files or documents to be made available to the participants, you would first have to save the files and documents onto your device, which will then allow you to select and input them into the material content. Drag audio to the center of the screen. To add audio content, the audio would have to be saved onto your device, which will then allow you to select and upload the audio file. Drag button to the center of the screen. The button component allows you to embed links that participants can click on to view. If _blank is selected for the target section, participants will be directed to a new tab with the link associated with the button. If _self is selected, this will open the linked activity on the same tab that the program is opened on. Drag input text to the center of the screen. The input text component is designed to assist content creators in crafting quiz or survey questions. It allows content creators to enter specific questions that participants will respond to. However, the responses entered by participants are displayed in a single line, which means responses for this component should be kept short and concise to fit within the constraints set by the input text component. Moreover, when the required option is selected, this indicates that the program participants must complete this section before they are able to proceed to the next step and click on the Finish button. Selecting required is optional and left up to the discretion of the content creator. Drag input number to the center of the screen. Similarly, content creators can utilize the input number component to gather responses to quiz or survey questions. However, with this feature, participants can only provide input numerical responses. Choosing the required option means participants must complete this section to proceed to the next step and click Finish. However, this choice is optional for the content creator. Drag input text area to the center of the screen. The input text area component allows participants to provide longer feedback or responses to questions that could be asked by the content creator. Unlike the input text field, which is limited to short, single-line answers, the input text area provides a larger, multi-line space where users can type more detailed responses if needed. Choosing the required option means participants must complete this section to proceed to the next step and click Finish. However, this choice is optional for the content creator. Drag input drop-down to the center of the screen. The input drop-down component allows content creators to present a list of options in a compact and organized format. When participants click on the drop-down menu, they can view and select a single option from the available list. Choosing the required option means participants must complete this section to proceed to the next step and click Finish. However, this choice is optional for the content creator. Drag input checkbox to the center of the screen. Unlike the input drop-down, the input checkbox feature allows participants to select one or more responses to a question that could be asked by the content creator. Content creators can choose whether they want the responses to be displayed inline. When the inline feature is selected, the responses are arranged horizontally on the same line instead of being stacked vertically. Choosing the required option means participants must complete this section to proceed to the next step and click Finish. However, this choice is optional for the content creator. Drag input radio to the center of the screen. The input radio component is a tool designed to help content creators make multiple choice questions where participants can select only one response from a list of options. Unlike input checkbox, which allows multiple selections, input radio enforces single option selection from program participants. Content creators can choose to display responses inline, arranging them horizontally on the same line instead of vertically. Choosing the required option means participants must complete this section to proceed to the next step and click Finish. However, this choice is optional for the content creator. Please be aware that not all components featured in this tutorial are required. Content creators can choose which components to use based on the specific needs of their program. Additionally, they may use a particular component multiple times and arrange them in any order they prefer. Once all of the components have been incorporated in the Designer tool, click on Preview to view the content and layout of it. You may switch between Designer and Preview to make any needed changes relating to the content and layout. Once the preview is complete, click Save and Exit to begin designing the content of the other content entries created. Follow the previous instructions regarding the Designer tool on other content types created. In the next tutorial, we will demonstrate how to link the content created and designed in Content Management with Menu Management. Only the content that has been created can be linked with Menu Management and made visible to program participants.